Comrades, how's it going over there? This is Sergey. Welcome back to Ushanka Show. My special thanks и огромное спасибо to all my supporters on patreon.com. Thank you, comrades. It's greatly appreciated. So today we're going to talk some more about Soviet free housing. I had quite an interesting comrade join the conversation, and I would like to respond to his comment. If you follow Ushanka Show for a while, you may know by now that Comrade Sergey finds himself quite often between the hard place and the extremely heavy sledgehammer. I mean, here we go, we have people like this Comrade Palatino that thinks that this guy gives me cringes. He's pathetic Soviet romanticizer and pseudo-commie. And on the other hand, we have people like Juan Zapata, who said that you are a ёбаный agent. All your pictures are говно. Your arguments too. Look inequality in USA. USSR was a young country, developing. You would be better than China is today. I don't know why me should be better than China. You are anti-communist. Just accept it, brother. And blah blah blah, and this and that. Hypocritical scumbag. Well, are we having fun yet? So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk today about free housing, and we're going to answer one of the comments that came up in my previous video about free housing in the Soviet Union.
On a serious note, it's fairly hilarious how despite how hard you try to slander the USSR, you can still show us glimpses of exactly what we want and help us compare capitalist life disfavorably to socialist life. Your recent episode on housing was a perfect example. You know what's more depressing and inhumane than small apartments and shabby rural construction? Homelessness.
It's a very good comment, good points, and I actually had to look it up. A word slander, because I wasn't sure what was he talking about. I thought maybe he was talking about my slender, sexy body. But no, unfortunately it was a different slender word. So during our back and forth conversation, which was actually quite civilized, Comrade Good announced that he was evicted by a family, and then he was living out his car, and it was incredibly difficult to find for him a place to rest before work. I'm not Dr. Phil, but I'm just wondering, what could you do to get your family so pissed that they'll kick you out of the house? And he was trying to explain me how hard it is to live out of the car and you can't really take a shower and look decent for your job. And the funny thing, well, if you read my book American Diaries, you would know that I was pretty much homeless too. And it's not only in 1995 when I lived on the loft in the market, freezing my butt and taking showers outside on the wet grass at night. I did that in 96, in 97, and in 1998. So total amount of, if we add all the months together, that'll be easy, at least 6 months that I was pretty much homeless. As I said, there was the market. So during the day I work in the market, and at night I climb on the roof, not the roof, on the loft. And I had this made out of carton boxes, little like a doghouse, so it'd be warmer, and that's where I slept on the mattress, and that's in the fall in Michigan. But it's actually not a topic of today's video, and so I want to kind of run a couple of scenarios for Comrade Goods in response to his comment that he says that my recent episode on housing was a perfect example, and you know what can be worse than depressing and inhumane small apartments or shabby rural construction? Homelessness. So let's take a look at different scenarios how a homeless person in the Soviet Union could get a free apartment. So first scenario, let's say during the Stalin era, you just go to the local NKVD office and you report that you had argument with your family, and you told them that you think that Comrade Stalin is the best leader, and your parents answer that they think Trotsky will do way better running Soviet Union. and NKVD would arrest your parents, send them to Siberia, and guess what? You're not homeless anymore. You can occupy their apartment. The only problem with such scenario, if your neighbors later find out that you're a child of the enemies of the people, we actually had terminology like that. They can write a report on you. You'll get arrested too and sent to Siberia, but still you'll be having a roof above your head. You won't be homeless, working in Gulag, mining for gold or diamonds. And of course, the second scenario for Stalin era is that you got kicked out for your anti-Soviet propaganda. Your parents got scared for your town, kicked you out, you're homeless, and KVD will pick you up and ship you to Siberia. You're not homeless. But let's use more realistic scenario. So scenario number 3, we're talking maybe 80s. You got kicked out of your parents' apartment, and you go to your place of work, for example, or some local office, and you apply to get a free apartment because you're homeless now. So in this case, you would be told to fill up the paperwork. Of course, there's a lot of paperwork. And so there's a special paperwork like a request to improve your living conditions. And the part of it, they will say, wait, did you say your parents have an apartment? And he says, yes, but I got kicked out. Well, it doesn't matter. They're going to calculate how many square meters per person in that apartment, including you. And if it's more than 6 square meters, you're not qualified to get your own apartment because according to the Soviet standards, you got plenty of room in your parents' apartments. And Soviet bureaucrats don't care if you get kicked out because you have plenty of room in that apartment. So you just need to go back to your parents and apologize and try to move back in. But let's continue working through our scenarios. So for example, you're going back to your parents and you're trying to say you're sorry and they still don't let you move in. So now you're homeless, right? Well, guess what? If you get caught twice, so you got 2 warnings, on the 3rd time, you can get arrested and go to jail for 2 years for systematic, and there's the Russian word, бродяжничество. So you're just wandering around, being homeless, no specific place where you live. It's a crime, and once again, you won't be homeless because you'll be arrested and sent to jail for 2 years. So that's your another scenario of getting free housing in the Soviet Union. But let's keep on moving. Let's explore more Soviet options. So let's picture, for example, that for real your parents had a little tiny apartment or maybe a communal apartment or a dormitory room that they shared with other families. So you are qualified to get a free apartment to get an improvement in your living conditions. But guess what? You think it would be like 5, 6 different apartments options to choose from? Of course not. There'll be a waiting list. Maybe like my parents, they had to wait 20 years to get a 2-room apartment for family of 3. So in your case, I don't know how many years there'll be waiting list. And guess what? Meanwhile, you need to find some kind of housing. Otherwise, you'll get arrested and sent to jail for 2 years for not having a housing for living on the streets. So as you see, Soviet free housing, even if it was available, it wasn't freely available. It was a desperate need, desperate shortage. I mentioned already in one of my stories that we end up going into the huge debt, pretty much getting Soviet mortgage because my mom like, okay, we wait 20 years being on waiting list to get a 2-room apartment, or we just bite the bullet and get this кооперативная квартира, cooperative apartment, which costs tons of money, like was 15,000 rubles, but we'll get it in a year or 2. So situation was pretty bad, and I know it sounds great, free housing, but it wasn't that free. And if you follow my channel, I was sharing the story. So first my family lived in a dormitory, sharing a small room with another family. So total of 6 people, 2 families, like total strangers living together. think we lived there for like 5 years. And my mom was so desperate. So according to her story, she went, she filled the paperwork asking for improvement in living conditions. And she said she begged and cried in the office of the person who was in charge of, doling out apartments. And, now I'm a grown man and I'm more cynical. I never questioned, like, is all she had to do just to cry, or did she have to do anything else to please that bureaucrat so he will just decide to give us an apartment? I mean, are you willing to do some sexual favors in order to move off the streets and get a little apartment? I don't know. And also, when I shared the story about my uncle and his struggles in Kiev, they literally had to become squatters. They just occupied some random room in the basement and made it live in quarters for a while until they get kicked out on the street. And he sent a letter to Moscow with pictures that he's an artist and been on the streets. So free house in Soviet Union, it's a quite interesting topic. It's not that pretty as wasn't that pretty as many people think. Well, that's all I have to say for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye. Hey, by the way, cool merch for cool comrades is available at the Ushanka store at teespring.com. Just a friendly reminder that my book American Diaries is available on amazon.com, or shoot me an email if you would like to have a signed copy. Thank you. And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet Union.